If you were to ask a lot of people what their biggest fear is, most likely you would hear the phrase snakes pretty often. And there's a good reason to be afraid of snakes. The Texas Public Health Journal cautions that there were 5,684 bites from venomous snakes between the years of 2000 and 2013 just in the state of Texas. 2 of these bites were fatal. Being able to identify a venomous snake could help alleviate some of the fear that you might have and possibly even save your life. During my research, I have found information written by medical doctors, pharmacists, a professor at the University of Texas Southwestern Medical Center, and the Texas Department of Parks and Wildlife. I also learned many of these identifiers myself while living in the state of Texas and seeing these snakes firsthand. So the 4 venomous snakes of Texas that we're going to learn about today are the copperhead, cottonmouth, rattlesnake, and coral snake. The first 3 types of snakes all belong to a subfamily of snakes called pit vipers. These pit vipers all have a heat-sensing organ on their face between the eye and nostril that is called a pit. The first example of a pit viper that lives in Texas is the copperhead. In the article Snake Safety Tips, it tells us that although most venomous snake bites that are treated come from copperheads, they are also the least serious. So here we have our picture of the copperhead. As you can see, it does have listed that they have pits because they are a pit viper. It's also very common for the pit vipers to have a triangular or arrowhead shaped head. Their colors are going to be a dull orange, which resembles a terracotta orange, and a dark reddish brown. The dark reddish brown is in bands that are shaped kind of like bow ties, as you can see from this drawing. And the copperheads also reach a length of about 2 feet. So the second venomous snake in Texas that we're going to learn about is the cottonmouth, which is sometimes called a water moccasin. These are also pit vipers, so they will have the pits on their face. They do have the triangular shaped head, again common to the pit vipers. Their coloration is going to be dark brown, dark green, or even black. They do have bands on them, as you can see, but in the wild this might be a little harder to see because they can be so dark colored. These are pretty big snakes. They can reach a length of about 3.5 feet, and they're a bit heavier and thicker than some of the other snakes on the list. Now, the interesting thing about this snake, and this is where it gets the name cottonmouth, is going to be the fact that the inside of their mouth is bright white. And they like to show this off when they are feeling a little bit scared or vulnerable. They'll open their mouth very wide and face towards you. So you'd get a good look at it, but don't get too close. The third pit viper that we're going to discuss in Texas is the one that Texas seems to be the most famous for, and that's going to be the rattlesnake. As I said, they are a pit viper, so they will have the pits on their face. They do have the triangular shaped head again. And I know you think I forgot to color in this rattlesnake, but I promise I did it like this for a reason. The reason being that there are 9 species of rattlesnake in Texas, and they come in a variety of colors and patterns. They can be gray, brown, tan, green, or even pink. And all of these colors come in different patterns. And because of this variety, there's also a large variety in their size. They can be between 2 and 4.5 feet long. So what I'd like for you to focus on instead is their most distinctive feature, and that is the rattle. You can actually see the rattle down here on its tail. And this is probably going to be the first thing that you notice about a rattlesnake. Even if you don't see it, you will hear them shaking their tail because they are very upset when you get into their own little space, and they will shake their tail to let you know that they'd like you to leave. So the last type of venomous snake in Texas that we are discussing is the coral snake. In an article co-authored by doctors and pharmacists, which is titled Texas Coral Snake Bites, it is stated that in the United States, bites from coral snakes account for less than 2% of the total reported snake bites to people. So while it's much more uncommon to be bitten by a coral snake, it's still a good idea to be able to identify them. The coral snake actually belongs to the family of cobras instead of pit vipers, so it has no pits on its face. It also is going to have a less distinct head shape. It's going to be more rounded. And the colors on the coral snake are what make it my favorite on this list because they are so bright. They're going to be red, black, and yellow, And as you can see here, they are striped in their pattern. There are some non-venomous snakes in Texas that have these same colors, but the difference is going to be that the coral snake is the only one that has red bands touching the yellow bands. And lastly, they are going to be up to 2.5 feet, so they are a little bit smaller than some of the other snakes we've looked at. So now you know the 4 types of venomous snakes to look for in Texas and to look out for: the copperhead, the cottonmouth, the rattlesnake, and the coral snake. You should be able to identify these snakes based on their head shape, coloring, size, and their defining features. Although I really don't suggest that you approach any snake in the wild, even if it doesn't have the characteristics that I've listed here today, I hope that knowing how to identify these snakes can make you feel safer and more confident in all of your journeys in Texas. Thank you.